Hi, my name's Chris Candy, and this is the Never Not Run podcast. Or no,
Or do the NNR for.
this is the Never Not Run podcast. I'm your host, Chris Candy.
And I'm Mark Nieto.
Okay, here we are. How's it going, Mark?
It is going great. Thanks for we're doing this from Long Beach today.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming down.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thanks for doing all of the stuff you do. Everyone keeps on commenting on how awesome the pod sounds, and
Thanks.
yeah, no, it's great.
We also keep forgetting, but we got such a nice message from one of our listeners. I think her name was Claire, and I wanted to give her a shout out.
Yeah, was that the one? Her and her dude are cooking and
Yeah.
going on runs. Yeah, and listen to the show.
Yeah, they said that they heard about the show because they saw one of the shirts
Right.
in New York City.
How magical is that?
Yeah, it's working.
It's working.
Yeah, it was so cool to get a message like that.
Yeah.
So far, we've mostly been talking to our friends, and yeah, it's just nice to kind of hear from some random people you never met.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the kind words, and we really appreciate it. I think after some of the most recent events that have happened, and we're going to get into all of that today, I've really come to love what Mark and I are doing with NNR and running, and it's really like developed into a deeper love. But it's moments and comments like that really make me feel great.
Yeah. So thank you. They're much appreciated, and thanks to just everybody out there that's been listening.
So today we are going to be talking about me and a team of really unbelievable runners participating in what everyone in the running community knows as one of the most bizarre, psychotic races, and that is the Speed Project.
Yeah, I had heard about this last year, had heard some kind of rumblings about it, saw a lot of the content that they were putting out afterwards, and then Chris, you were asked to be a part of a team, and you invited me as well. I couldn't make it. I was really disappointed, but you did a really great job of documenting the whole thing through the Never Not Run Instagram page.
Right.
And so anybody that's listening, if you're kind of unfamiliar, like, be sure to go to the page, check out the stories. We've highlighted all of the stories, but for people that are unfamiliar with it, can you give them like a quick rundown of what the Speed Project is?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Speed Project is a foot race that starts at the Santa Monica Pier and it ends at the Las Vegas welcome sign in Las Vegas, Nevada. It is roughly 350 miles. But you can go whatever way you want to get out there. The Speed Project kind of has this claim to fame that their only rules is that there are no rules. And it was started, I don't know the full backstory, right? But I know one of the main guys is this gentleman named Nils. And I saw him out there. He's I think he lives in Venice now. I'm not quite sure. But, solid runner, and I feel like a team of his and a bunch of friends of his just one day, I think from what I understand, wanted to see if they could run from Santa Monica to Vegas. And they created a route, and they did it with 4 men and 2 women. And so they did it. They did this route, and that's the one I think that's 350 miles. And they ran, with a team, I think, helping them out and made it. And it was this endeavor that they went on. I don't know how many years ago, maybe 12 years ago. I don't want to have too many facts on exactly what they did, but what came from that event was the Speed Project race. And it's a foot race. It's a relay. They break it up into 2 groups. You can either run it solo by yourself. They have a race that starts on the Monday of the week where there were racers who raced all the way on their own from Santa Monica to Vegas. And then there's people who can go the OG route, and those people have to be made up of a team of 4 dudes, 3 girls. And then there's also the freestyle route, and that can be as many people as you want. You could create a team of 12 people, 20 people, and there are a ton of those teams out there. There's this running club named Team Cruda. They had 2 RVs, an off-road vehicle, and I can't remember how many team members they had, but they break it up. So I was asked to join it by this guy, Nathan, who is a really good friend of the pods and a good friend of Never Not Run. He's just a beast if you follow him on Strava. And he invited me to run it, and I wasn't able to run it, but I was really excited to check out Speed Project, so crewed it. And that's when I invited Mark, and Mark wasn't able to do it. So I was going full into this experience, not knowing what to expect. And I was able to document the whole thing from start to finish. It was annoying at times. It gets a bit repetitive because I was a little bit delusional at times. But this episode is going to follow the journey of Tom, Emily, Will, Francisco, Nathan, Martin, and Kelly, and myself as we started in Santa Monica, and we made it. There's a very cool story to the end of this in Las Vegas.
So we're going to chat a little bit back and forth about, because I mean, you gave me little bits and pieces of it, but I have so many questions, and like you said, thankfully you've documented it. So we are going to kind of jump into a lot of clips and just hear about this insane endeavor. Great.
Well, let's play the first clip then. A wild start to Speed Project. I'm here with Emily. Kelly. Well, the journey starts.
Emily's on the finish.
All right, we're in Santa Monica here, and it's active. Speed Project is starting. We will be back. This is Never Not Run Pod. Okay, so that was the beginning.
Set the scene. What time is this?
I'm inside. It's, I think, roughly 3:55 in the morning on Friday morning. And I have never really, I've driven like 15 passenger vans, and I've driven all kinds of things, but I can't really say I've ever driven an RV. And so, I'm taking this thing really slowly into Santa Monica from my place. I live mid-city. And I go and meet the team at the Wyndham Hotel. And the Wyndham Hotel in Santa Monica is right up from the Santa Monica Pier. It's like that traditional photo of the pier. That's where the race starts. It's really iconic, especially for me, someone who's like grown up spending a lot of time in Santa Monica. It was just so impactful. But as you're getting there, you just start seeing all these RVs and like this hum of the energy of what's going to follow you for the next 24 hours, 48 hours. And so I start seeing all these RVs, all these different people, and then I start getting a sense of what exactly is going to be going on. There's a lot of participants, a lot of teams, a lot of companies have teams out there. Rourke was out there. Our buddy Rio was running for them. We had Lululemon Canada, Ultra, On running, our homies over at On. They were running it. You start seeing all these people. LA Saves Track was there. Mm-hmm. They had a team. And everyone's just gathering. And it's very like flash mob. Like they kind of just gather. They're not there that long. And then, boom, they start. What made me say at the very beginning of that this is crazy is because it was crazy. And this kind of is my main takeaway from the Speed Project. But at the very start of the race, a houseless person came over to our RV because the door was open and sat in it. And he was, basically like out of it. He said he was a diabetic. He's definitely like had booze on his breath. Like he was like not gonna move, right? So the security guard from the hotel, he came out, hey man, you gotta move. Meanwhile, the race is 5 minutes from starting, and this is a relay, and the team that I had met up with were wanting to get moving, and my job was to get them moving. But we had this man who's in really rough shape, like refusing to leave. Like he was in his own world and was not going to leave. And all of us were pleading with him, trying to get him to like, please, we got to get moving. Like, and being as respectful as humanly possible. And after he got really angry, he he elbowed me, he was like really, really like not going to move. He was like saying like, where are you from? Like just really aggressive. Finally, like, I was like, look, dude, we've really got to get going. Like I was able to get through. All of us collectively were like, we're so sorry, but we got to get moving. And after maybe 20 minutes, he I was able to get him. He mentioned he's a diabetic. He mentioned he needs some sugar, so hooked him up with like a bunch of, luckily, we're a running
club.
running club. So
Plenty
we
of
had a
sugar.
ton of sugar. And so hooked him up with some Powerades and some like cookies, basically, the Bobos bars, hooked him up with some of those. And he got up. And interestingly enough, his mood totally changed when she got sugar in him. It was interesting because he was actually helping us back out as we were leaving. So the reason I say that kind of sums up the Speed Project experience is that my entire trip, I had no idea what to expect. And, I wasn't at the pre-meeting for the Speed Project, but it's not just that you're running an incredible feat. It's very dangerous at times. You know what I mean? There's a lot of like unknown elements that maybe I wasn't prepped enough for, and maybe the other racers were. But since I was the driver, I felt very responsible in regards to making sure everyone got through this race safely. And there was just a lot of moments like the man that sat there that kind of pop up throughout this race, be it like someone, threatening with a knife or a gun because you're in their environment, dog chasing after you to bite you because you're in that dog's environment. You're not just like, it's not like Badwater where you're just running on like, a road with some cars on it. This is like you are basically dropping into everyone's everyday life, and you're doing a very, very difficult endurance run. So this was that fight with each other the entire race.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very aware of it. And, I don't know if they really, I could be naive to that, but I don't think that is kind of a part of the allure to it, and it left me feeling a little odd at times. It left me feeling like, and this isn't to take away from the feat, because I want to get into all of the amazing athletics that everyone did, but there were just times where I felt like a bit taken aback at how we were kind of like impacting environments around us that were cultural environments, not necessarily like natural environments.
Right.
You're going through Pacoima and there's just like a shit ton of RVs, you know what I mean, that are like, ponying up to like get positioned to get their, racers tagged in and out while people are trying to get to work in the morning, left me feeling a little different.
When you say a lot of RVs, like how many ballpark are you saying? Is it like 10? Is it
No,
50?
it's at times it can be, in the very beginning when everyone is, and we'll go along with this, but at times it can be, 20 to 30,
Wow.
But in total there's probably 50 to 60 mobile vehicles involved in this thing. If each team, there's 50 teams, has at least one RV. Some people had multiple RVs. So, the race itself is at odds in regards to it being notoriously invasive into like communities. So it's like there was a group chat that was for everybody to kind of make sure that there was safety going on. And, you'd hear reports of like, don't send female runners through this part of town at this hour.
Wow.
Because it's dangerous. And I felt bad that we didn't kind of have that pre-planned, because we had moments like that happen. Now, fortunately for us, luck was on our side and everything turned out okay. And from what I understand, nothing bad happened this year. But I just was like seeing this going like, wow. So I just wanted to talk about that first, because as I listened to this first part of the clip, I wanted to just mention that that's a part of this race that I don't think is talked about much, or maybe it is, but that was my takeaway. And I felt like obligated to share that.
Cool. Well, no, I'm glad you had that insight and that perspective, because it's, like you said, it's something that in my viewing of it, as a consumer, as somebody who just kind of was looking at it online, it's something that you don't really get a sense of. And like you said, it's something that, maybe I'm sure it's going to just keep growing, because it's obviously, it's been promoted really well. It looks like an amazing experience for people, and there's a lot of bonding and positivity that comes out of it. So I think it's also good to be like somewhat critical, or at the very least like aware of.
I think
stuff going on?
I think if that, because you can't really also blame any of the runners because there are a lot of them that are international people. Everyone on my team was not from Los Angeles. So what do they know?
Right.
And who can blame them? And I by no means blaming anyone here. It's just, it was my observation, when, this thing is kind of swarming through. Now, in full disclosure, I didn't go to any of the pre-meetings. Maybe this was all talked about and you're listening to this going like, shut up, Chris. We've heard about this. But that was my observation. And that wasn't always the case because as you're about to hear, there was so much unbelievable stuff that happened.
Cool. Well, should we move?
Let's just keep going. Yeah, let's just keep rolling these clips. Okay, and Martin just went off on his next, this is his third leg. He's going to do a 6 miles. We're out in front of a Carl's Jr. about 36 miles outside of Palmdale. Nathan, you took a little nap. How you feeling, buddy?
I'm all right. Closed my eyes for a little bit. No sleep, but closed my eyes. We'll recharge, had some coffee. I'm going to run 2 more segments, and then I get like 2 hours to sleep.
This is just life, the grind out on the Never Not Run pod, LA Speed Project. We don't even know the team name. 319, 913? 319. We're the 319 Never Not Run pod. Delusional already, and it's only 8 o'clock in the morning. Gonna take these guys to Six Flags, get them to go down Colossus, maybe fly off Superman. This is Never Not Run pod. People are just peeing off the side of the road.
Call from Ryan Bosetti.
I'm gonna grab this call from my girlfriend.
All right.
Okay.
So what the hell happened between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m.?
Okay, so apologies. I had 2 microphones going on. One was capturing some other stuff. This is where the audio picks in. Basically, it's getting out of Los Angeles, and that's where I came in handy to them, which was great. I felt like really helpful in regards to getting them started. So to catch you up where we get to Palmdale, you run up Santa Monica Boulevard, you go through Santa Monica, you go through Century City, you go up through Beverly Hills at Doheny, up to Sunset Strip, all the way down to Hollywood and Highland.
Wait, and you guys are running on the street or on the sidewalk? Or
So at this point, it's all sidewalk running, but there is very much this competitive energy amongst all the runners because it's like who can get there first. And they're going for it. Like all the teams are just like all out. There was actually like a really hairy thing that happened at Hollywood and Highland where, we saw a team tag off. And at this point in the morning, like traffic's getting moving in LA. And this might have been around like 6 a.m. And I'm going to go into all of our team riders or who were running for the 319 team. But one of the riders tagged in and looks up and there was like almost a major car accident that happened. Like someone almost just gets like completely T-boned by someone because this was the interchange. So at this point I'm going like, okay, this race is going to be crazy. Safety is like number one priority. I love all these people. Like let's get them to where we need to go. So it turned me into a super slow driver, but also just like eyes everywhere. And it was really taxing. But to break down the teams, right? And on my team, it was, the team name was 319 TB. I can't remember the last part. I couldn't figure it out because there was never an official team name. But it was started by this guy, Martin. Martin's this dude from Belgium. He owns a clothing store and he's just a savage runner. Loves running trails. He's like outdoors. And he brought his friend Kelly. Kelly was going to be my co-pilot, basically like to help with trading off on the rides, on the driving. And then the team was invited from Martin. Martin invited Nathan. And then Nathan, through his run club in New York, was able to find this guy named Tom. Tom is Australian. Tom had a friend named Emily, who she works for Nike and is out of Portland. Then Nathan also knew this runner named Francisco from Mexico City. So Francisco's on the team. And then this unbelievable runner named Will, who lives in New York City, but he's originally from New Zealand. So I have this really...
this is global. Like people... And any of these people been to Las Vegas before or the Mojave Desert or anything?
I think Nathan and Francisco had because they had ran it on Team Cruda the year before.
Okay.
But like, I can't say for certain if they had it, but I know that like they were asking me to do tour guide driving while we were going through Los Angeles. So I'm like, the way it would work for the listener is like I say in the clip, where, Martin's about to start his third segment. The Speed Project has it broken down, and they give you a map to take, which is the OG route, which is the 350. And basically, that has it broken down into segments. So you have like a whole pamphlet, and it breaks it down. And so you have 6-mile segments. So we were splitting our 6-mile segments in half, more or less. So I had my runner watch on. I'd click my runner watch on when they would drop off a runner, and then I'd click on the Garmin, drive 3 miles, then that person would meet up with us. And then they would tag off like a relay and continue the race. In LA, it was very much me helping get them through Los Angeles. And it was cool. I could feel that. I was like, all right, cool. Like, we're going this way, super congested up on Hollywood. Like, let's go this back route. I got them.
You're perfect for this. They
and
got
at the same
so
time, I'm
lucky with you as their manager.
Yeah, I'm going like, all right, and over here's the Whiskey a Go-Go. That's where the House of Blues used to be. That's the Comedy Store, And it was helpful for moments like what come up, when we're getting out of Los Angeles, is you kind of come across basically Hollywood and Highland, and then you go up to Hollywood and the 101. And I was able to help Emily being like, all right, stay focused on like making sure you don't go, stay alongside the freeway, don't go onto the freeway, obviously, and, point people in the right direction. And so once you get out past, what we know as like the entrance to the Valley Studio City, you basically...
Cahuenga Pass, like where the Hollywood Bowl is and all that?
Okay. Exactly. You go over the Cahuenga Pass and then basically past Universal Studios, and then you go straight shot up to the top. And I have the map here. Okay, so once you get over the Cahuenga Pass, you basically take Lancashire all the way up to Pacoima. And then you're basically at the footbeds of like Angeles Crest and, the Sam Gabriel Mountain Valley.
Sam Gabriel.
And basically you're working your way to...
Another Sam Griesmer shout out. Sam Gabriel.
Sam Gabriel. Every episode we got to have him in there. But you're working your way basically to Santa Clarita. And... that point, that's where you catch up with us in that clip, is we've now made our way. It's 8:00 in the morning and we're out near Six Flags. So just, visualize that. You've started when it's dark outside at the Santa Monica Pier, and now it's 8 a.m. in the morning and you've got light on your head and you're near Six Flags Magic Mountain.
At this point, everybody's done two cycles or...
The way that Nathan broke everything down was he did an incredible job at doing his homework and, looking at Google Maps, using what the Speed Project gave him, and then also finding his own route. And we'll get to that part later in the story. But basically, since you can go any way you want to, he was researching from New York on his computer and Google Maps, like where we could go, what way we could go to cut time off. And he found a way that was awesome that cut about 50 miles off of the run. But he had shifts for everybody. So like I say in that clip, at that point, I think everyone had run 1 or 2 full cycles of 3 miles each, but it was going to get to a part soon where people were going to have to start running longer. And he had mapped it out for everybody to at least get 5 hours of sleep in our RV. So they would be fully rested, because each one of these runners had to do an incredible feat throughout the entire thing, but also had a very taxing long run at some point of the race.
Wow.
Okay, we're 5 hours in. What are we guys? What's going on here? 30 something odd miles. We're halfway.
We're over 30 miles. It should be 48 miles.
We're at 48 miles. First big major break at Avon's. You got some coffee?
Yes, delicious. Yeah, I'm happy.
Theragun's pumping.
Vroom, vroom, baby.
That's right. Emily's rocking the Theragun. We're talking Kipchoge. Never Not Run. We're out here. I don't even know what part of the world we're in right now. But getting our way towards the desert. We're definitely kind of in these smaller towns, gas stations, and
It's heating up.
it's definitely heating up, right? So, does anyone want to give an update where they're at?
An update on where we are. All I know is we're 38 miles in. Oh, how I feel? I feel all right. I did a little rolling, kept the muscles pretty loose. I think we're all doing a good job of that. Keep staying hydrated, aren't we, team? still smiling. I think that's important.
I think we're past the LA chaos.
Yeah, the LA chaos was a lot. I think adrenaline was surging for sure.
Great job.
We've sort of tempered that enthusiasm now. We're just getting into a groove. I mean, the scenery is pretty unreal. It's heating up. I think that's the main takeaway from this current update. So just important to stay hydrated and crack on.
That's right. Never not run. Staying hydrated. The bus driver, moving and grooving. This is the most recent update.
Most importantly, the band's not.
More to come. Never not run. Back to you.
So what? Now explain to me what the atmosphere is like on the RV. I mean, are people just like sweating? Is it smelly? Like, is there just food everywhere or running clothes hanging?
Yes to everything. Yeah, it's like your runner paradise in a box. You know, it's like there's just gels and Powerades and everyone's favorite like runner food. You know, there's Theraguns, there's, you know, running shoes just all over the place. Emily had been, since she works for Nike, was able to get discounted shoes from the Nike store for a lot of the runners. So they were just running in like top notch, you know, shoes. And forgiveness, like I can't name the specific Nikes. I'm not as knowledgeable in them, but they were using the ones that like, you know, Kipchoge helped design that, you know, they were also running in a lot of their newer running shoes. They're everywhere. They're sprawled everywhere. And there's a bed in the back, a bathroom, kitchen, you know, just filled with snacks. And then like a little dining room table. And then me and Kelly are in the front. And it was like, you know, a runner's Millennium Falcon. We're kind of just like, I'm jamming out on music and, you know, doing the pod every once in a while and just driving really slow. Now, who you heard from there was Tom. Tom was unbelievably charismatic and like a lovely dude. All these people were just like so fun to be with for like the 2 days. And he, you know, knows Nathan and they had, you know, run together out in New York City. And I believe he knew Will, that's what it was. And, you know, he was just like so charismatic and was always able to like kind of keep mood up and just a fast fucking runner. That was one thing I got to say. All of these people were super fast, like unbelievably fast. And it really helped me appreciate and understand what it means to push yourself. But at this point, you know, we had a longer break because Martin, I think, had gone on a 6-mile run. And so we were in a parking lot and, you know, like Kelly had mentioned, she had finally got coffee. Everyone's kind of like at that moment amped on adrenaline. But we also, what is very important to say is like, there's this like never ending sense of like, this thing's going to be going on for a long time. You know, how do I put it?
Like time kind of stretches and you lose your sense of time, right?
Yes. We had just gone through one obstacle, but we had like 5 million more to do, you know, and I had never done this before. So it was like, where are we? You know, what's happening? But I felt good at this point because we had gone so far and gotten out of the heavy traffic areas of Los Angeles. And I think also prior to my first comments, like that was speaking specifically to these major towns. The rest of the time you're on open roads. You know, they reminded me of maybe the highways that you must have taken to get to Las Vegas from LA back in the 40s or 50s. There are these kind of old 2-lane highway roads that weren't as occupied with many cars, and it felt much safer for the runners. And that felt good to me too.
Are there other RVs around you, or has it started to spread out at this point?
No, it was cool. Like, and that was refreshing, you know, knowing that like everyone was on some kind of a similar trail. As the race goes on further, that starts to spread out and, you know, it starts to dissipate and your placement really ends up, you know, showing itself. Everyone's getting updates from this one group chat that the Speed Project people are talking through. And all of the Speed Project people, for one reason or another, are following you in a stretch limousine that has off-road tires. But their whole thing, too, is like for that, is they don't run it because they want to offer support. And, you know, if something does go wrong, they can get there pretty quickly and help out. So you do always have this sense of someone is close by who's on this race with you.
Okay, we're still on Soledad Canyon Road, next to La Cabana on the corner of Soledad Canyon Road. Near us is a same-day fast delivery cannabis service. They say they deliver within 90 minutes, which is pretty great. And we're waiting on Nathan, and he's coming back in for another tag off. We see him coming now. It's getting hotter out here, though. Where are we at right now, you think?
I don't know. Like, I went off this morning, having high hopes of how fast I go, and then the heat hits you and it's so hot. And 3 miles is not that far, but you're so ready to finish running at the end of 3 miles when it's this hot out there.
Yeah, everyone's definitely feeling it, but we got a long time ahead of us. But we're just, knocking it off. That's what this is feeling like right now. Just kind of taking chunk by chunk, piece by piece. Everyone's documenting this thing like crazy. Like there's like 9,000 drones in the air. But we're just doing our thing. We got a mic in our hands, driving down, listening to Tears for Fears. Seeing a lot of homies along the way. It's fun. It's really great. It's great to see all the support out here. Let's just see what unfolds. Checking in. Update number 9.
I was right. There was so much. I mean, we're doing a whole podcast on it, but that was one thing. It seemed like all the run clubs were doing kind of what we're doing right now, but in their own way. There was a ton of drones, a lot of cameras, a lot of people running with cameras, documenting the thing. And why shouldn't they? It's an incredible feat. But that was like its own other beast. It was like the production world that was going on, day of.
And how hot was it at this point, would you say?
I think at that point, it was hotter in Los Angeles or in SoCal for that matter. It was getting, high 80s and into the 90s. And I think after that, it was, close into the 90s, 95. I'm pretty sure that's where we were around, at least from the car thermometer. And yeah, you just, the guy who was on the mic there was Will, and Will, is really fast, and he's an Ironman person. He does a lot of Ironmans, loves triathlons. He was telling me all about that experience for him, and just another really, really nice guy. Someone who was like a super warm soul and like just loved running and was super fast. He talked to me about his competitive nature, and I'm not very competitive, but I really appreciated someone and saw his perspective on how competitive he was, because it comes in handy, and it came in handy later in the race.
Okay, we got low battery on the recorder, but I got plenty. Getting dangerous right now. Really close to cars. We gotta keep things head above water. It's a busy highway. Tom, explain what happened.
Well, the problem is there's no real shoulder, so you're sort of grinding in the dirt, trying to stay off the road as much as possible, but also trying to stay on good solid surface so you don't do an injury. But yeah, there was a bit where I had to merge, and then I just couldn't pick a gap. The road was just too busy, and I just had to sort of dart across in front of a pretty sizable truck, and scared the guy behind me, I think, because it was a pretty close call. But yeah, after that it was all right. I ate my sandwich a little too quickly, I think, because I seemed to get a pretty sharp stabbing pain in the side, which was a pretty nasty stitch. But toughest 4K so far, but got through it. So
the stabbing pain would come outside of LA district.
yeah, yeah. There you go.
All right, we're moving and grooving. How many miles are we in right now? Kelly? 63 miles in. 75. What? 75. 75 of 300. We're on our way to Vegas. Kelly. Never Not Run Radio.
I think I came up with like more different names for the show. I'll just apologize to the team now if my sense of humor was out of place ever, but it was how I stay awake.
And so you're only a quarter of the way through then.
Yeah, and I was feeling it. I was feeling the danger in the sense of, that was, I remember, a very scary experience for Tom, and I was just kind of I was seeing basically the layout of this thing, and that was another thing that I was surprised with. And I, again, don't know if they brought this up in the pre-meeting that I didn't go to, but, if anyone is ever considering doing this, just this is part of it. You're running in areas where there's trucks driving by, and you have to be really, really focused. And that, and they did, but it's moments where, a truck zips right by you. A lot of the RVs, self included, were going unbelievably slow because, we wanted to make sure that everyone got through certain passes safely. And sometimes if you felt like you shouldn't be driving slow and you should be driving faster because that was safer, that could get jammed up by a huge RV in front of you who was driving really slow because that driver felt like that is what that person needed to do. At the end of the day, everybody who's driving is focusing on making sure the runners are taken care of. And that's what it was. But the highway we were on was beautiful. Like we're going in and out of major highways and then these like beautiful country roads that are in SoCal. And it was remarkable. That was some of my favorite times on the run. And you're kind of working your way out in towards the desert. And you have in your head going like, okay, we're not even 24 hours till the finish.
Jesus.
Okay, it's been a minute since the last update. We are, how many miles in are we?
About 110?
110 miles. I took a little nap. We are in a town.
100.
Who hit 100?
What's up? We finished at 103. Yeah, and then Emily ran,
Yeah.
and Will's running.
Okay, so we're out here. 319 TB, is that the name of the team? Yes. 319 TB on the NNR pod. I'm back in the driver's seat here. We are over 1/3 of the way done, and it's not that we're tired, it's that it took me a long time to figure out what our feeling was. So we're in this town right now, kind of in the middle of nowhere, and I have a pretty good relationship with at least SoCal and kind of Central Cal. But this neighborhood, we're up on a street called Panther Boulevard. And I guess, Nate, do you want to kind of explain what happened, or is Francisco there? What happened last year in this neighborhood?
Sure. All right. Hey, so last year we had we have a group chat every year. We got a group chat every year, and in that group chat we found out a team ahead of us sent out an alert. There's a guy with like a shotgun out on his porch. So the advice was just to, cross the street, go far away from him. And also we're approaching a place where there's a lot of like weird street dogs that might give you a hassle.
Is he still going?
I think I need to run with him. I'm still recording.
Go.
Okay.
Nathan's going to go run.
Shit. Yeah.
He's cooking. All right, we're going to follow him. How far? 4.5? This is the Never Not Run pod. Back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, he's doing 4.5.
Okay.
All right, what just went down right there?
So we're in a town, and this town was kind of infamous. It's close to that airport graveyard that's out like in the Mojave, I think. But it's one of those desert towns. But it also was like a town that is pretty run down, and it was another town that I was kind of like, we're kind of entering their zone, and there was that story of, the gun from the year before, and I think not our team specifically, but in the group chat, like someone had a knife pulled out on them, and there were dogs. There was just dogs everywhere. So I remember like the request and like totally understood was like Nathan going like, you need to be like right behind me while we're driving, and that was a part where I was driving the RV super slow right behind him because there was just sketch dogs kind of everywhere. That were going to just like hop out and could nip you and stuff. And so that seemed to be something I had heard prior to the race, that dogs kind of pop out. But again, like that just speaks to what this race is. There's kind of a lot of, unknown variable and element to it that they don't really, say, but that's what makes this race really, really difficult in more ways than just kind of physical. You're kind of navigating through different environments.
Do you know were there any injuries or any incidents this year? Anything pop up in the group chat?
I didn't hear of anything. No, thank God. There was no issues that had happened, and that's really good. And I think it's also, quite frankly, one of the things that stands out, and I do want to share this element, is like the running community is beautiful, and it really like has all of its participants back, and I think they also do try to have the community's backs that they're entering. I don't think they want to have a negative impact on anything. But this is some real life stuff, that is just, that's what this is. It's a very much, marriage of two very different things. And so, everyone has each other's, best interests involved when this is happening. But with that being said, there's some real life danger that comes along with it that, thankfully didn't get acted upon this year, and I really, really pray and hope it doesn't happen in the future.
Okay, we're back. Getting into the nighttime hours here. It is a time to pay attention. It's definitely dark. We got Nathan out there right now. He is got the protective gear, headlamp, and this crew of runners is just making their way out to Vegas. We're kind of on the doorsteps of Death Valley right now, which is a trip to be back out here. The team let me run a nice little leg, which was epic, very beautiful. It was just graceful and a glorious run. But yeah, how's everyone feeling back here?
I'm not feeling great, but Nathan and I are alternating 2 mile segments, shortening it down, just kind of getting through it right now, and then little rest, it's getting cooler, bit of a reset, and then fucking take it on again.
You heard it here first, folks. All right, so we're going to just keep placing this whole episode together. But yeah, we are out here for the Speed Project. This is the Never Not Run Pod.
So what did it feel like to get out there and start running?
I was really ready for it at that point. Like I didn't really know if I would be allowed to run or what the rules were, but hey, there are no rules. But I could clearly tell when I was on this race, I offered a couple times, but it was pretty clear like all of these people who'd signed up to be on this team were ready to run some fucking miles, and I wasn't going to take that away from them. And so they were super nice to let me run 3 miles, and they couldn't have given me a more beautiful 3 miles to run. It was in the middle of the desert, and it was just, I'll never forget it. It was just the skies were gray and purple, and the desert just looked unbelievably peaceful. It was that kind of transition time from it being really hot to being really cold. But that was my experience with my run, and I greatly enjoyed it, and I really came to appreciate what I love about running in that moment. But I could sit here and talk about how much I loved it. The whole mission for me on this trip was keeping those people in good shape and safe, and that was it. Not getting in their way, really. At that moment, though, prior to that, there was they had this thing called the Beach Club, and it was like the Speed Project Beach Club, and Nils and a bunch of the other promoters, my friend Vasha, she works with the Speed Project. They set up like a little mini rave in the middle of the desert, and like that was the only support the Speed Project kind of offered. There was like a couple coolers with some beers and like some tents and like guy flipping burgers, and like they had some on running gear they were handing out, and it was cool. It was like the one place you could kind of meet up and hang out, and it kind of had like I've never been, but like a bit of a Burning Man feel to it. This kind of like off the grid, we're gonna do what we want kind of thing, and cool. That's what it was, and we were at this point on like no longer a paved road. We were on like just straight up a dirt road.
Oh wow! So you're on.
We're in the middle
gravel
of fucking nowhere. Yeah, like there's the airport graveyard to the south, and then like who knows? We had just left that town, gone to this little beach club rave, and now we're just jamming. And at that point, then after my run, and then all the other racers were basically like doing these 2-mile legs. We were going into night, and that's where I could feel like, okay, like people are getting tired. But Nathan had done such a great job at, basically pacing everything out. Everyone had a fair amount to run, but like Martin, for example, from Belgium, he wasn't running a lot. He did a couple big runs in the beginning, but he had like 7 hours off. And it's because he needed to do the heavy lifting in the evening. In the evening, it's difficult because like there were some moments where like, we needed to be on our game a little bit more to make sure we got these people home safely, and we'll get into that later. But we were getting into this territory where, it's nighttime, you're on these 2-lane roads. And basically at this point, we're working our way up towards Barstow. And so, you're hitting not about 24 hours yet, but you're getting into the end of the first day. So that's where we were at this point.
Okay, we just emptied the septic tank. We're doing it. We're getting through. We just made another transition. Emily is going to go hit a run. Tom is done. We're fucking going for it. It's the real deal. The fucking speed project is in our fucking grips. We just have to cross a little thing called Death Valley.
So, okay, I'm glad you mentioned this because it was something that I had thought about earlier, but was too afraid to bring up. But you guys are shitting on this thing too, right?
I think so. I didn't, but there is like the Speed Project did a great job in the pamphlet they hand out, telling you like, okay, fill up on gas here in this segment, empty your septic tank here at this segment. So everyone had kind of the directions and instructions on where to do it. 'Cause otherwise, yeah, like if you skip your water fill up or your septic dump, like your fucking RV's gonna smell like shit.
Yeah.
And like it's like there's enough heaviness going on, like to have that smell would be a nightmare.
Oh my God.
And I guess Nathan had mentioned earlier that had happened to Team Cruda the year before. So we dropped off Emily, and I felt bad about this because like, one of the things that I was trying to do was make sure that like I was keeping clear with everybody. But like we had sent Emily on a run in a pretty sketch part of Barstow, and we had to go off and do the dump. And there was this confusion on making sure we got her in time. And I felt bad because she had to end up hanging out, for a little while at like a liquor store in Barstow at like 2. And like, that's sketchy, like that's just like, again, like, not to get into like that kind of element of it, but no one should be out there, let alone, one of your only like female runners. And so we ended up picking her up, and it was fine. And she was a total badass. She had her shit handled. But again, that was like a moment where it was like, we went to go do that. And then we got word from her that she was waiting for us. And it was like, okay, we got to get back and get her.
Yeah.
Keep energy up, pick her up. And, that was definitely a reality to it. But
did you have any experience dealing with that in an RV before?
Actually, I had been told by Ryan's dad, Rick Bassetti, who is an avid RVer, how to empty a septic tank. And just so you know, you want to do the black lever first and then the brown lever second, or gray lever. Basically, the idea is like you unload like all the piss and like crap first, and then you unload the gray water second, so it flushes the pipe out with gray water. Kind of cleans it on the second.
And this team, it was such a blessing that you were you were their driver.
Well, I just I was also cracking like terrible jokes the entire time, so they definitely had to deal with like some like major Chris Farley energy. All right, we are currently at Fern Drive, and Martin's gonna go out on a 7.5 run. It's off the track, so we're not gonna be able to follow him, which is pretty remarkable, to be honest. But we're going to go to a gas station, fill up on gas. This whole, experience involves a lot of, it's kind of a scavenger hunt almost. You're getting pieces, going one place to another place, unload septic here, like I was saying earlier, and then, get gas here, make sure you do. There's a lot of kind of things you need to make sure you hit to make sure that like this already challenging experience is exactly. So how you feeling about your 7.5?
I'm sort of excited in the sense that I'm running between two bases, one army base and one marine base, and it's the only way you can get in between running. So to go off road, and there's a lot of people around here, so I'm assured it's going to be a fun experience.
It's a cozy energy right now in the RV. Everyone's kind of getting some shut eye, and basically we're gonna be driving into the midnight hours.
Can't wait till the sun goes up.
Yeah, exactly.
She's a sunshine person. She is a sunshine person.
I know. I like how I said, like, when we were starting this, like, just so you know, like, when it's nighttime, I fall asleep. Like, I'm like, that's something rare. But yeah, this is quite the experience. I can't believe we've been podding the whole time. But it is remarkable. And, this is, we love to run, man. When did you get started running, Martin?
I started like 12 years ago. Nike was one of my suppliers at my store, and they invited me to run a 20K, a big 20K race in Brussels. It's like 40,000 people. And that's what it started off. We started off with 20K, and before we were running marathons, and then I started looking for stuff like this.
The next chapter is right. Well, we're going to get into the rest of the night here. I'm going to get quiet over here so everyone gets some sleep, and we can get these racers safely to Las Vegas. This is the Never Not Run pod, broadcasting live just outside of Barstow.
So are you guys about halfway at this point? Or past?
It's halfway if you're driving, yeah. That was the other thing that is playing with my mind is like, I kept on saying it, and I kind of maybe shouldn't have. I'm like, if we were driving there, we'd be there in 2 hours. That joke didn't go over too well. But, and as it should.
It hit right. In the podcast studio, it hit just right. Let's wrap up part one there, about the halfway point, and
perfect place for it.
Yeah, because we're going to get, based on what you've told me, part two sounds like it's going to get even crazier, especially from a running perspective. Like the stories you told me about what these people were able to pull off sounds nuts. So, any teasers you want to give people for part two?
I guess just as you're thinking from week to week, just, envision, a RV filled with sleepy runners, and then, one lone soul out in the middle of the desert with a headlamp on, trying to get to the next spot. The other thing is, like, we couldn't follow them at this point. And this was the first time in the race where we couldn't follow behind them. It would kind of go quick. You'd drop them off. I'd drive for 5 minutes, and then they'd be 10 minutes later showing up. But now we're getting into this territory where, we have to drop the racer off and then go down the highway for, 10 minutes and meet them at an out point. And there's a lot of variables for things to go wrong in this. So as cozy as the van is, the RV is for that matter, it's very tense, and there's a lot of things at play under the old California starry sky.